And we are back on Sportsman Radio. I'm your host, Chris Shanafel, and I am now joined by former NFL Pro Bowl linebacker Chad Brown. Thanks for joining the show, Chad. How's it going?
I'm fantastic. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. And before we start this interview off, I just want to say thanks for joining the show. And, you know, I got to ask you, we're going to talk about your football career. And being from California, graduating from John Muir High School, how did you decide to attend the University of Colorado?
I went with what my parents thought was best. At that point in my life, I'm 17 years old, and they had steered me right the majority of my life. And, my dad thought it was important that I leave the state of California. Growing up in Southern California, I wanted to be a UCLA Bruin or a USC Trojan. But my dad thought it was important to kind of break away and grow up a little bit. And it turned out to be, one of the best choices I made by listening to my parents' advice. I still live here in the state of Colorado. Absolutely love it. Met my wife at the University of Colorado. Got a job in my chosen profession, professional football. Won a national championship. 4 Big 8 titles. All Big 8 and all American. So I can't complain about my Colorado experience at all.
And actually, before committing to Colorado, did you know that you would be getting as much playing time as you did? I mean, you were a 4-year starter.
Colorado was the only school that recruited me to play inside linebacker. And, I was kind of invigorated by the challenge of it all. I didn't think I would be able to start all 4 years because at that point in my life, I had never played inside linebacker before. But they had brought in Alfred Williams, who ended up winning the Buckets Award the year before. They brought in Kananis McGee, who also ended up playing in the NFL for 5 or 6 years. So both those guys were playing outside linebacker when I got to Colorado. So it wasn't, going to be a whole lot of playing time for me at that spot. But I loved the school so much. I liked Coach McCartney so much. I loved where the program was going so much. I thought to check out the challenge of playing inside linebacker would be cool. But never did I imagine I'd be a 4-year starter.
And can you tell us about that 1990 season where the Colorado Buffaloes won the national championship game?
It was a special season. The year before, we had gone undefeated during the regular season, and we lost Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl. And to be perfectly honest, we were not ready for the big stage to play in a national championship game. And Notre Dame was just, more big game ready than we were. So the next year, our focus was obviously getting back to that same place. We started the year 1-1-1. We had a tie. We lost the game. But from game 4 on, it was really a truly special season. And when we got back to the Orange Bowl and played Notre Dame again, we were more than ready with the big game experience. I think having tied that game earlier in the year, having lost that game earlier in the year, gave us the resolve, the internal fortitude to overcome all obstacles, and we were able to do that and win the national championship, bring the first national championship home for the University of Colorado.
That's awesome. So you've been able to play in a national championship game and a Super Bowl. Any similarities between those two specific games?
They're so different. I mean, there's so much hype that goes on around the Super Bowl, and it's such a huge media event. And you're a professional football player, but to play in a national championship with, in college, you're still in the dorms and you're still spending virtually every hour of the day with your teammates. Just because of all the time that you spend together, the bond is just so incredible. So, I never won a Super Bowl, so I can't comment on that. But having won a national championship, having lost the Super Bowl, winning a national championship, over winning the Super Bowl every single time.
Awesome. And Chad, what would you say was a top highlight of your college football career? Would it be playing in that national championship game?
I would say it was, and not trying to brag on myself, but I had a really good game. When given a lot of time to prepare for an opponent like you have during a bowl game, back then college football didn't really go past Thanksgiving, and you didn't play a bowl game until January, so you essentially had 6 weeks to prepare for your opponent. So going to that game, I felt very comfortable with what my assignments were, what Notre Dame was going to try to do, how we were going to defend the Rocket, how we were going to defend Ricky Waters, and all those things. So I came out and had a good game. That was kind of my big coming out party on national TV. From that point on, that's when the NFL scouts got excited. I caused a fumble. I made Ricky Waters fumble, which we recovered, which then we went out and scored on that drive, which set up the game-winning drive. So whenever I go up to Boulder and I walk around campus and I see the national championship, trophy or the awards or anything like that from around that time, there's a special sense of pride for me knowing, not only did I play well, but, I caused the fumble, which then set up the game-winning touchdown. So I take a lot of pride in that game, and not only as my coming-out party, but as being a big part of achieving that first national championship for the University of Colorado.
Yeah, absolutely. You had a huge impact in that game. And in the second round of the 1993 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Chad Brown, linebacker out of Colorado. Can you tell us about your draft day and what that moment was like for you?
Draft day was pretty crazy. My mother called me pretty early in the morning, and she's got a childhood friend who lives in the San Francisco area. And apparently I was on the front page of some San Francisco paper, and it said they were going to draft me in the first round. At this point, I really didn't think I'd be going the first round. So considering my mom calling me with that news, and I was a little excited and nervous about what's going to happen this day. And also that morning, I got a call from Bill Cowher, and he says, "You know what, Chad? We just signed Kevin Green to play outside linebacker a couple days ago, and we're still interested in you, but will you play inside linebacker?" And it brought me back to 5 years before when I had that kind of conversation with the University of Colorado coaches. And I told Coach Cowher, "You know what, Coach? I'll punt if you want me to. I'll do anything you want me to do as long as you draft me." The day kind of progresses, and I'm sitting there at my agent's house, and two of my University of Colorado teammates get drafted in the first round. And the first round's kind of winding down. I go, well, maybe San Francisco is actually going to pick me. Of course, they don't. They pick someone else. First round is over. So at that point, I don't want to be around the cameras. I don't want to be around the sports writers anymore. So I go down to my agent's basement. I'm down there for maybe 10 minutes, and he calls me upstairs and says, "Hey, I got the Redskins on the phone. They're going to take you with the 45th pick." So I'm on the phone with the Redskins talking to, I can't remember who I was talking to at that point. And then my agent hands me another phone, and the Steelers trade up to the 44th pick to take me. So that's kind of how the story rolls. But a couple weeks before the draft, the Steelers flew me out there to meet Marvin Lewis, who's the linebacker coach now, head coach of Cincinnati Bengals, meet Bill Cowher and all those guys. And I remember telling my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, wow, for a California guy, I think Pittsburgh is going to be a really big adjustment. I'm not sure if I really want to play in Pittsburgh. And, as soon as you say something like that, you jinx yourself, and of course I ended up being a Steeler.
And I got to think, of course being drafted is a great moment, but I got to think it feels, at least just a little better to know a team traded up to draft you.
Oh, absolutely. And, Pittsburgh is a great city. For a guy from the West Coast, it could not be more different. But once you live there and you particularly understand the importance of the Steelers and how the Steeler identity is tied into everyone in the Pittsburgh community, and you can't separate the Steelers from Pittsburgh or the Pittsburghers from the Steelers. Kids grow up wearing Steeler diapers and Steeler bibs, and they sleep on Steeler sheets. So as far as the football experience, I couldn't have asked for a better football experience, despite what I thought, when I flew out there a couple weeks before the draft. And to be there with Rod Woodson, Hall of Famer, and Damari Dawson, Hall of Famer, and LaVon Kirkland, and Greg Lloyd, and Kevin Green, and, all these guys. Plus they had a number of teammates from the University of Colorado there. It was really the perfect place for me to learn how to play professional football, how to be a professional, and all those things about playing the game. So I almost still, to this day, even though I played for the Seahawks and the Patriots, still kind of mentally identify my NFL career as being a Steeler.
And you mentioned some of those greats. Did any of the veterans on that Pittsburgh Steelers squad make you or any of the other rookies do any extreme things like, get a crazy haircut, bring in a ton of food for the team or anything like that?
They made you stand up to sing the fight song. during training camp. So I made sure I was out of the locker room really fast and ate my lunch super fast, so I wouldn't have to do that. So I escaped that one. Every position group on the Steelers, they make the rookies pay for a party. And, you know, you got to rent the limo. And you're going to go to the most expensive restaurant in town. And they're going to order, you know, steaks and lobsters and Cristal champagne and, you know, $50 cigars. So, yeah, you know, I ended up paying about $9,000 for this rookie party. It definitely hurt the pocketbook. But, you know, the next year was my turn to sit back and enjoy. So that was turnabout fair play kind of thing.
And here's a kind of fun question to ask. What would you say is the craziest or weirdest thing you had to sign?
Wow. You know, I've signed people's skin before. I've signed, you know, every imaginable type of Steeler paraphernalia. As I mentioned, you know, kids in Pittsburgh wear Steeler bibs. I've signed Steeler bibs. Never signed a Steeler diaper. But gosh, I mean, you name it: mugs, cups, silverware, plates. You know, old helmets that had nothing to do with the Steelers. Football, socks. Never a jock, luckily. You know, I've taken off sweaty things off the practice field and given them to somebody, and you know, forced to sign my own sweaty practice gear. So everything you could possibly imagine, except for like a baby's forehead. I'm not Ricky Bobby from Talladega Nights. I've signed it all.
All right, now I ask you that because I'm here in Chicago, just got back from the Chicago Bears training camp practice, and of course I'm seeing some things being signed, and then I see this guy. His name's Glenn Timmerman, and he actually has Chicago Bears former and current players sign his body, and he runs to a tattoo parlor and gets them tattooed on him.
Whoa, that's crazy. I've never seen that. That is pretty. Hopefully, he's pretty selective. You know, because the NFL, you know, it's not for long.
Right.
So you hate to get somebody, you know, you think is going to be a good player and get them inked on your body and it doesn't last.
Oh well, I'll tell you this. I mean, he let's just say this. I know for a fact he has Rex Grossman tattooed on him.
That's not what you're looking for.
Chad, back to your football career. You know, during your NFL career, you made 3 Pro Bowls. Did that mean anything to you during your playing career, and does it mean anything to you now, today?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it does. You know, the Pro Bowls are voted, you know, 1/3 of the vote comes from the players, another third comes from the coaches. And to make the Pro Bowl, particularly as a Seahawk, it's because we didn't get a lot of exposure when I was there. To make the Pro Bowl there, I thought was particularly special. Also because, you know, there was another linebacker in the AFC West, a guy just down in Southern California, Junior Seau, who I was competing against virtually every year to win one of those spots. So I do take pride in those, and although I think I should have gotten more, there was that guy down in San Diego who I just mentioned who tended to take my spot every year, even though sometimes I had better stats. But I'll let that one go. Yeah, I mean, it's a great honor. It's a fun game. It's a great reward for your hard work to be able to bring your family over to Hawaii and enjoy the week and hang out with all the other players, and your wife gets to hang out with the other wives. It's a fantastic experience, and you know, my only regret is, you know, not being able to have played more.
And how would you say those fans are out there in Hawaii?
They're good. They're really good. They you know, they're real NFL fans. You know, they may be a couple thousand miles away in the middle of the ocean, but you know, there's NFL fans as any other NFL fans are. And, you know, they got crazy things for you to sign, and they're excited. They know all your stats. They know, you know, who you are. And for some reason, Steeler fans travel really well. And you wouldn't think there'd be an incredible amount of Steeler fans in Hawaii, but there are Steeler fans in Hawaii as well. So, really cool.
Chris Shanfield here talking with former NFL linebacker Chad Brown on Sportsman Radio. Chad, you played 14 NFL seasons, which is it's an extremely long time, especially if you want to point out the average NFL career. I believe it lasts somewhere around 3 years. How did you know you were ready to put up the cleats?
Actually, I got 15 years in. And I thought I could have played at 16th, but I started to feel like the possibility of serious injury was just out there waiting for me. I had a number of lower leg injuries, some foot injuries, some ankle injuries, some knee injuries, and I didn't feel quite as stable as I felt early in my career, and I couldn't react to things as quickly. I thought I could still continue, like I said, for 1 year to kind of be a good locker room presence and be a backup. And I love the game. Even as a backup, I still love preparing to play and getting a chance to go out there and run down the field and do all that stuff. But I just thought the serious injury is just kind of looming out there because I'm losing my ability to change direction, react quickly, and I would hate to end it because of some really serious injury.
And you've been retired for a little bit now. What is Chad Brown doing nowadays? I mean, I know I see you on NBC Sportsnet Pro Football Talk sometimes.
I'm just kind of starting to get into this whole media world. As a kid, I grew up really shy, and I stuttered. So when a University of Colorado teammate of mine, Alfred Williams, has a radio show here in Denver, he asked me to be on his radio show, and I went on the show, and I had a pretty good time. I thought, you know what? I know football, and people want to talk to me about football all the time. This whole media thing could be a great vehicle for me to overcome this shyness and overcome the stuttering and kind of use it as a personal growth kind of thing. I really didn't have any aspirations of, being on Monday Night Football or anything like that. Let me just kind of learn how to overcome some of these things that have been an issue for me in my life. I've been doing this about 2.5 years now, and it's been a lot of fun. Obviously, I love talking about football. I love the game. And I think I've come a long way. And I'm still away from the microphone, a little bit, shy or quieter kind of dude. But for the most part, I've overcome my stutter. And it enables me to be a better coach when I'm coaching kids. It enables me to be a better boss in my businesses, to be able to speak clearly, give my thoughts and all those kind of things. So it's been a fantastic process, and that's my main focus right now is this media thing. I've got some businesses that I own that I work here in Colorado. One of my businesses is I have a shipping company, which I specialize in shipping difficult to ship items like reptiles or fish or corals for your fish tank. So I've got thousands of customers all over the country. They use my shipping service to ship their animals, fish, corals, reptiles, and whatever to their customers. And that's a lot of fun as well.
All right, and let's say maybe 5-6 years into your football career, and I asked you, after your football career, you'll be part of the media. What would you say?
I would have said, no way. Absolutely not. Although I thought I was a pretty good interview after the game, I never thought I would be on the other side of the microphone. And having done that, it's a completely different skill set. And 5 or 6 years into my career, there's no way I would have been able to do what I do now just because I was still that very shy, very private, very quiet person. Although I went out there and played football like a wild man, I think being behind the helmet and kind of wearing the uniform enabled me to do that. But when you're doing media, it's your face, it's your words. And at 27 years old, which would have been what I was in my 5th year in the NFL, there's no way I would have been able to handle all that. I was just too private of a person.
And Chad, I gotta say, I really appreciate your time, man. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Now, before I let you go, I have just one last thing I want to talk about, and that is the NFL linebackers. Last season was the final season for both Ray Lewis and Brian Urlacher. I gotta ask you this: are both of those guys first ballot Hall of Famers?
Ray's definitely going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't know if Brian will be. I know he'll get in sooner than later. It may take a couple of years, and it'll also depend on who's in those same classes when he comes up in 5 years. But I think they'll both get in. Ray's ability to raise the level of everyone on his team, and particularly everyone on his defense, is perhaps unparalleled from any other player in the NFL outside of maybe a Peyton Manning. And his impact, not just as a player, but as a leader, he puts him down not only as just a Hall of Famer, but literally as one of the very few of the all-time greats.
Now, Ray Lewis retired by choice. Brian Urlacher didn't really retire by his choice. He still feels he could still play a year or two left of football. Were you surprised another team did not take the chance on signing Brian Urlacher?
it's so difficult when you want to sign an older player because, particularly with someone with the injury history that Brian had. When he was running around his last season, his knee just didn't look right. He didn't look nearly as athletic or as healthy as he had done in the previous years. And as you get older, you don't respond as quickly to those injuries. You don't recover as quickly, and sometimes you just never recover. And particularly as you get older, the amount of injuries begin to pile up, and one kind of leads to another. So that's a huge risk, and obviously he's Brian Urlacher. He has a ton of pride, so he's going to want to go somewhere. He's going to want to start, and he's going to want starter money. So are you willing to commit starter money? And, that means you can't have another inside linebacker who's, either getting paid good money or even early round draft pick because that's going to be designating too much money to that one position. With a guy with a questionable injury history, you don't know how much he actually has left in the tank. And what kind of locker room presence is he going to be if it doesn't work out and he's forced to be a backup? He goes from thinking about himself as a first ballot Hall of Famer to now being a backup. And a lot of guys can't handle that transition well. I think if Brian would have publicly said, I'm fine to be a backup someplace, I think there would have been a number of teams that would have jumped to have Brian Urlacher on their team. He'd be a great mentor to some young linebackers. A team that's drafted a linebacker in the first round, a middle linebacker is going to be their middle linebacker in the future. How would you not want Brian Urlacher in that guy's ear if Brian is willing to accept that mentor role? If he's not, then that's not going to be a good relationship and a good situation for your locker room. So I think those kind of things coupled together, the injury history, his desire to be a starter, not publicly stating that he was willing to be a backup or take a smaller salary, that's why he's on his contract now. Everybody goes out differently. I played as long as I could. I was lucky enough to play with Jerry Rice in his 20th season when he was with us with the Seattle Seahawks. And people thought, why is Jerry still playing? He's taking his legacy. No, he's not. He's playing his 20th year in the NFL. He's playing because he loves the game. So everybody's a little different. Some guys are fine to go out as a backup and kind of quietly be cut. And other guys want to go out on top. Not everybody gets to write their story like a John Elway who goes out with a Super Bowl championship or Jerome Bettis or the guy we were just talking about, Ray Lewis. Not everybody gets that same opportunity. So it ends differently for everybody. And, it's up to that individual whether they want to continue with a lesser role or a backup role or making less money. And obviously Brian was not okay with any of that.
Those were some absolutely fantastic points you just brought up, Chad. And, once again, I really can't thank you enough for your time. It's been a pleasure having you. Before I let you go, is there anything you'd like to plug on the air for myself and our listeners?
If somebody's got a reptile to ship, they can go to shipyourreptiles.com. Other than that, just enjoy the football season, and hopefully you'll be hearing from me in some media circles around the way.
Hey, sounds great. Hope we keep in touch, Chad, and take care.
All right, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.